And action!
Welcome to an Intentional Marriage Podcast. We are Chad and Kristen Cottingham. We are your hosts here on an Intentional Marriage Podcast. And we are here to discuss all things marriage because, why, honey? We know great marriages don't just happen. You have to be intentional.
And speaking of intentional, Kristen, this week we had a great conversation with a longtime family friend. And we're sitting there having lunch. And I just turned to her and I said, how long have you and your husband been married? She said, 62 years.
Wow.
62 years. It blew us away because I knew they'd been married forever, of course. But 62, and I said, what's your secret? She goes, I don't know. She kind of shook her head. She goes, but how we started, I don't know how we even
got to this point. And she proceeded to tell us about their honeymoon.
Oh my gosh.
But first you got to set the stage on who they are. I mean, like, they're so completely opposite as people.
Well, as we know now.
Yes, as we know now. Yeah.
But here they were. Yes, she was the oldest of 4 girls. That would have been a long time ago. 18. He was 18. You know, they're young. We don't see people get married that young nowadays. But back then, they couldn't wait to get married.
Yes.
But she said her husband had this honeymoon plan. They got in the car, and she was just along for the ride. She was so excited to be married out of her house. And they drive all the way to Canada. Now, again, they're from Michigan. At that time, I think mid-Michigan. Canada. To camp in the woods for a week. Now, some of you campers are like, oh, that's awesome. And here you are, an 18-year-old couple. Uh-huh. There's no air mattress.
No, she said they slept on the ground.
Slept on the ground. There's no running water. There's no electricity. You boiled your water.
Yep.
You caught your food for fish. He was in seventh heaven.
Yes.
He had his hobbies, his fishing.
And now he had his girl. He thought, oh, this is great.
And this, Cheryl, if you... I'm not sure how a timer went off. Maybe I'm supposed to stop at that
Maybe you're supposed to edit. Okay.
And she just went along for the ride. But now we just laughed and laughed and laughed at that story. Humble beginnings.
Yes. And they could not be more opposite. Like, if you knew this woman, she is proper and always put together, and I cannot picture her out in the woods. But she said, we were just happy to be together, and love is blind, I guess. But I just thought, I had a couple thoughts running through my mind. Like, one, did you not plan your honeymoon? She must have just left it up to him. I never asked that question.
Again, so different than today's culture, where our wedding day is so big and so planned. A lot of people get wedding planners.
Right.
I know our daughter-in-law is a wedding photographer.
Yes.
It's big business. And then these honeymoons. Extravagant. They go to islands in Caribbean, Hawaii. Yes. We went to Mackinac Island, I think, for a day. We took the ferry over for a day. And it was a 2-day. So again, and we've been married 33 years.
Yes.
But I think that's 62. Wow. But it really encouraged me going, wow, they did it. And what a role model of couples to look up to.
Yes, it kind of reminds me of our last week's topic, maintaining commitment. And man, that is serious commitment to last for 62 years. And it also makes me think it's not where you start, it's where you finish. That's important. Like what you were saying, everybody focuses on the big wedding day and the honeymoon and there's nothing wrong with that. But what we really want to focus is on the lifetime of living that you are going to experience together. And
it's because the goal, Kristen, the goal is the 62 years.
Yes.
The goal is we all want to make it. That's our destination. That's our dream. That's what we want when we say I do.
Yes.
When we give those vows. But how do you get there
is the question. and it really is the subject of our book. If we can just touch on that a little bit. We're going to dive into the first section in the first vow today, to have and to hold, which is all about that strengthening friendship. But our vows really are our values in a sense, and they really do determine the direction that we want take our marriage to last until death do us part, because each of the vows really has a significant meaning, as you and I know. We dug into those as we wrote the book, and they really do give us some grounding and actually act as a compass and point us in the direction and tell us kind of how to get there. And
Kristen, that's really good, because you're talking about that direction to get there. Because I think so many marriages, so many wedding days, they say vows, they write their vows, and they never really go back to them. They never really, maybe each year, go back and reread them, refocus on them. They become words.
Yeah, like it was just part of the ceremony. Let's get on with it. It's just something we have to do. But if we really, as you and I know, we dug into really the meaning behind these words, to have and to hold, is all about strengthening that friendship, an essential component to marriage. And then for better, for worse, I'll just give a quick brief overview. Okay, so for better or worse, it's really about growing, not just going through circumstances. For richer, for poorer, uniting, not fighting over money. I mean, money impacts every day of our lives in our marriage, so that's a big topic. And then to love and to cherish is all about that deepening intimacy, another important component of marriage. And then, like we talked about last week, maintaining commitment till death do us part. So just to give a little shameless plug, in our book, we do break down each of these vows. Are you going to be a Vanna and hold for the listeners that can't see, Chad's holding our book right now on. And we dive into what those look like and give practical action steps at the end of each section, because like I said, these are our vows are our values that give us the direction. They determine our decisions and ultimately the outcome of what our marriage is going to look like, hopefully after 62 years, honey. So that means we're at the halfway mark.
Oh, we have 29 more to go.
Okay. All right, we're over. We're like on the top of the Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, going down.
I can't believe we've been married that long. I can't believe they've been married that long. No. I can't believe I have 3 grown kids married.
Right.
It goes really fast. And I think for too long, you and I didn't have direction.
Yes.
We had the commitment, we're not getting out, and we waffled back and forth. We fought the same things, which is why it drove us to write this book, to say, we got to get committed, because it was until we truly got committed and started breaking down vows and committing to each other, making changes, did we see our marriage truly begin to take shape into what we always dreamed it would be.
Yes. Well, I think we like you said, I'm going to just kind of correct a little bit of what you said. You said until we became truly committed. We were always truly committed, but we just didn't really have the tools to get us to where we wanted to go. And I think that's the heart behind what we do now, is like, I often think like we are the kind of the negative examples of what not to do. And now, but at this point, this kind of halfway mark, we can look back and say, okay, you guys, for those coming behind us, whoa, avoid this pothole. Yep. This is going to make this decision or situation easier. And so we're all about kind of providing the tools to help. And
so the thing we got right and we talked about last week was that commitment. That's about the only
thing
we
had
right.
going for us.
And all these other things we learned along the way, and we kind of keep walking you through it and encouraging you to read it. That's what we learned.
Yes.
We had one of the 5 right. And now we feel we've got...
We're working on the rest, and well, at least awareness is key. We're aware of things now, honey.
Emotionally aware.
All the things. You've come so far, I have to say. But let's go back. Let's go back to where we started, in the sense of kind of moving into our topic today about strengthening friendship, because our friendship, to have and to hold, is all about that friendship. That's where we started. We started our relationship as friends. And that is not something that we want. That's something we do want to develop as we move and grow older together. Because the last thing I want is when, now the kids are out of the house, but even the older we get, I don't want us to drift apart. I don't want us to just coexist. I don't want us to just be settled into our own little routines of individuality. I want us to enjoy that friendship. And I know you do too. I'm speaking for both of us here. And so how can we really do that? So when, we're drawn together more than just drifting apart.
Yeah, that's really good, Kristen. And one way I think, as we talk about that strengthening friendship, one of that parts is play together. But I want to really focus on an area that I think is really huge. Having some shared hobby, shared experience, something that we do together on a regular basis, we enjoy doing, and we look forward to doing it.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a long time to figure it out, because when we were younger, our hobby was really our kids. And unfortunately, we wish we would have focused more on ourselves at that time. It was the kids' ball games, the kids' sports, the kids' school, the kids' practice, the kids. And that's kind of when we saw each other. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But we realized, what do we have together? And I know it's another conversation I had this week. Man, I know they've been married a long time. They love each other. But I know he has his things, his hobbies, his interests, and so does she.
Yes.
And when I talk to them, it's really nice and they have their time. But I asked them, do you have any shared hobbies, shared interest? Well, no, I ask her to join me once in a while, and sometimes she does, and she invites me. And I encouraged them, I really encourage you to create and find something to do together.
Yes.
That's not yours and she comes and hers. Because in our marriage, I had a lot of hobby. I'd play basketball or softball, and you'd come to my games to support me. You did things as a good wife or friend would.
Yes.
And I would go to your events, or you'd want to go to a opera or something.
I never went to an opera. I went
musical.
To plays and musicals.
And so you'd go to do those things, but how did we find... We needed to find our thing that we both...
Well, because you came from a very heavy sports family.
No way.
Yes. Like, sports was your life. That's what, coming from a family of 3 boys, and your dad was super, athletic, and your brothers, all 3 of you,
and
super athletic.
It's not a bad thing
for
those
I'm not,
that are sports, because to me, that's how I learned life. How I learned...
I'm not attacking sports.
No. I'm not either. I'm just giving those things, learning how to work together, how to get knocked down, how to take criticism. So my view and vantage point, my perspective came from that world, because that is all I knew.
Right.
And that's the family we had. If I can tell a story, when you and I were first dating, we met in college down at Liberty University, Go Flames, and she came up, it was a summer break, and we were playing backyard volleyball with my dad and brothers. And I was 2-on-2, 3-on-3 or something, and all of a sudden, it's getting intense. We were intense. We all wanted to win.
And preface this that I just thought this was going to be a fun little backyard game of volleyball. I am not a sports girl. I mean,
cheerleader.
Okay. I mean, I played softball, and I went to this small Christian school. We had really... not a lot to offer, but I did play softball.
You played for the social reasons.
I did for the social reasons.
Okay.
I was all about that. But
so playing this backyard volleyball game, and Kristen kept missing these shots. She wasn't missing shots. She wasn't rotating. So in volleyball, if someone has to go in position, you kind of cover. And so all of a sudden, my dad starts yelling at her. I mean, she just kind of known him for a couple months. When he moves over, you move up. And she's like, it's fun to cry.
I'm traumatized from that.
It's like, that's how we did it. We are intense and we cover. We want to win backyard volleyball, chess, how long you stay underwater, whatever it is.
Everything was a competition.
Everything. And here's Kristen, no competitive bone in her body.
No, I'm like, are we here to just have fun? Like, that's still why I can't play euchre. I mean, I am embarrassed to say I am from the Midwest. I'm born and raised in Michigan, and I refuse to learn to play euchre because you have to concentrate and you can't talk. That is not fun to me. No. And then there's winning involved in this high pressure. No.
So, the best thing, and she was all bothered and worried. She goes home. I remember telling her dad, and I remember Jim, bless his heart, loved him. He tells you, now, did you tell him you went to Liberty?
You didn't go to Liberty on a volleyball scholarship.
And so we laughed and laughed, because then our daughter-in-law did go to Liberty on a volleyball scholarship.
Listen to this.
Daughter-in-law Hannah.
I want to interject and say, when it comes to sports, I am the fish out of the water in our family. It used to be your family, meaning your brothers and whatnot. But then we had our own kids, and they all grew up playing sports, Maddie. She did play a little bit, but so all this to say, we spent a lot of our time in some sports arena.
I can remember one sports story though, Kristen. I think you should tell.
Okay.
Something about a cannonball.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me tell it.
Yeah,
Don't get too far ahead here.
This is a great.
Okay, but I guess the point I want to make in all of this before I move into that story is that we spent so much time in the sports arena and we spent time together, but it really wasn't a shared activity that was strengthening our friendship.
No.
Okay,
Correct.
But okay, so
I thought it was. We were
right,
together.
and that's what that. Yeah, and good. I'm glad you said that. That you thought it was. You were like, "Oh, we're here together in sports. We're supporting our kids. This is so fun." And honestly, only because my kids were there and I could talk to people, that was where I that's why I tolerated I don't even want to. I guess I could use the word enjoy, but I really
on a different level.
On a different level, exactly. So anyway, all right, this was when our boys were in wrestling.
It was just Cameron at the time.
Early on. They were probably 8, 9 years old or whatnot. And I did not know a thing about wrestling.
So speaking of wrestling, if you're a wrestling parent out there, if you've ever been to a wrestling match, these people are intense.
Yes.
And they scream and they yell for that 2-3 minutes. And I've never seen parents yelling, moms are yelling, dads are yelling, boys are crying because they lose. It's so much emotion in a wrestling world. And Kristen fit right into that.
I got swept up in it.
Don't get you wrong, she was a cheerleader.
Okay.
She could cheer for her kids, no matter what. Go, go! And she can scream and cheer louder than any other parent in the place.
I still remember.
Did I set it up good?
Well, it's taken us a long time to get here, but
you gotta get the whole gist of it.
Yes, I was a cheerleader, and I am a cheerleader at heart, and I always want the best for my kids, and so that was my role in our sports arena. You were just there enjoying every minute of it. I was looking at it from, hey, I'm here to cheer on my kids. Anyway, okay, so back to the wrestling. So, in a wrestling tournament or match, parents can go circle around the mats, like rather than sitting up in the bleachers. And so we
you were exposed.
Well, we did.
You just did.
So I mean, there's nothing more intense for a mother than seeing your son getting thrown around on this mat and, back and forth on his belly, standing up, looping and flailing and getting pinned. And I mean, I just got all swept up in the emotion and I would cheer as loud as I could. And I was just like, everything in me wanted my son to pin and not get pinned. And so
what you were good at though is you didn't know the terminology.
Yes.
So if the coach was yelling something, do a crossface, do this, get reverse, you would repeat what they did.
So exactly. So that's what I was getting to that point, honey. So I was at this one particular match and I am just so into it. And I heard the coach yelling, they would yell these different terms and I heard him yelling, cannonball, Cam, cannonball. And I'm like, I've never heard that before, but okay, that must be some move that he needs to do to win this match. And so I'm down, my face is down on the mat and I'm crouched down and I'm like yelling, cannonball, cannonball. And all of a sudden, lots of times, because the coach was yelling it.
Lots and lots. No, he only said it a couple times. You took over.
I took over. And all of a sudden, everybody went quiet around the mat. The coaches stopped. And all eyes turned on me, and I sat up like a deer in the headlights, and I was like, oh my word. And I looked over at the coaches and I said,
they're laughing.
They are laughing hysterically.
Cameron wins the match.
Yeah, and I said, cannonball isn't even a term, is it? And they started belly laughing. They were like, no, but we told Cam ahead of time, just ignore everything that we're saying in this match. We're going to say some stuff and we know that your mom is going to yell it back and we just want to have a lot of fun. And so anyway, I was forever known as Cannonball Cottingham from that moment on in the wrestling in our smaller wrestling
world. It didn't
world.
last long. We stuck with basketball. But.
Yes, but all that to say, we're really all over the place today.
That was great,
but
Kristen.
Sports was so much a part of our life, but we really needed to move out of that space and find something that we liked together in order to really strengthen our friendship. Like, and I think, because it became so much, it took up so much of our time. Yes. And in your mind, it was filling a need. You were like, oh, this is great. I'm with my wife. I'm with my kids. I enjoy sports. But I was more like along for the ride. And so all that to say, the importance of finding something that you enjoy together is key. And
okay, so what did we find? What did we do? What are we doing now that you enjoy doing with me?
Well, I really enjoy being in nature, and I love sharing experiences with you in nature, and you the same. Like we enjoy that together. And so now that looks a little different. Our marriage looks a little different. Plus, to our dynamics, we're empty nesters, so we can kind of go out and do a little bit more than what we used to be able to.
And God blessed us with a home in nature.
Yes, so we're in the woods, we're on a river, and we love walks in the woods. We love sitting down by the river. We love kayaking on the river, and just driving around the property and just being outside and connecting with the divine in nature is what I truly love. And sharing that experience with you, knowing how much you love it too, has really strengthened our relationship, because we also have conversations during those times. And it's just a meaningful time for us to be together doing something we both enjoy in an environment that we both enjoy.
And you know what I like now, where we're starting to do, even with our grandkids in nature at our place? What do you see?
Oh, yes.
What do you hear?
Yes.
What do you smell? Trying to really get them as well.
Be present. Yes.
In nature. And I really love that we have this. But I don't want to dissuade you to not have any personal hobbies or interests.
Correct. Right.
Because I love to duck hunt, goose hunt. I'm a bird hunter. I've said that before. I love to play pickleball. You have things you enjoy doing with your girls.
Yes.
Shopping. Hey, I need a shopping therapy. I need to go.
Shopping is my cardio.
Yeah, just last night you're like, I've had a long week. I just need to go up and have a good time.
Yes.
We need some of those individual times.
Yes, for sure.
They're so important. Sometimes we need time apart.
Yes.
But we don't want to be with that's all you do.
Right.
And you're not being together, because that's so important. And I talked before about there's 10 years I didn't do my hobby. I didn't duck hunt because we were at a place we needed help with the kids and the family. And that has to take priority and precedence.
Yes, exactly. But no, shared experiences strengthen relationships. And those shared experiences are what creates memories that we can look back on and just, laugh at, or look back with fondness, or, those are the moments that matter in our life, and sharing them with the one we love most is what solidifies that bond between us. And, marriage is meant to be fun. We're meant to enjoy life together.
Yes. And so I want to challenge you and think, what do you enjoy doing? Listeners, what do you enjoy doing with your spouse? What's that hobby, that activity you do on a regular basis that you enjoy? Now, guys, don't just say sex. We're beyond that. Other things. What do you enjoy? If you're like, I can't remember the last time we've done something. Or maybe you just need to go find out.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to try new things. I know sometimes you don't want to. I'm going to say, Kristen, kudos to you. I remember there's times you went out duck hunting with me in the afternoon. It had to be warm, the right temperature, not early.
Yeah, it was not early morning.
I got her in a cute little, female women's camo. She looked so cute. And she'd go out there like, this is nice. So
because I did enjoy the nature part of it.
Yes. So there's things your spouse loves and you can join it and keep doing that. But I want to encourage you, find something, try new, whether maybe it's dancing class, a cooking class.
Yes.
Find a hobby or something you enjoy together and you can do together.
Yeah, I know there's couples that, even young couples now, like, they love puzzles. It's something simple as puzzles and listening to podcasts together and talking about the topics. And this is just, it doesn't have to be these extravagant date nights, or just what is your interest? What is your interest? And then, find something around the interest to do together. Yes. And so,
like I said, be open to try things.
Try new things.
I know guys and I myself can be stubborn.
Right.
We like what we like and don't usually like what you do.
Right.
And we've got to let that down. And that's part of being intentional. It can't be about us.
Right.
What do we both like? And we had to try a lot of things. I mean, we used to always like driving over to South Haven to watch sunsets, or it's a lot of nature things involved.
For us.
We found. Maybe some of you like going to concerts with your spouse, going to ball games. Find what it is. Maybe it's just, popcorn, chill, and Netflix and chill, whatever it is.
Well, and watching us, binge watching a certain documentary or whatnot. It's the bottom line is you're together, you're enjoying each other's company, and that is what matters.
And you're being intentional.
So, honey, I mean, I think we've pretty much proven our point here, or not proven our point, but encouraged, hopefully encouraged our listeners to really stress the importance of shared experiences and how they really strengthen your friendship. And
I think Cannonball has just pinned the topic right to the table.
Oh,
I think that's a great place to
he'll be here all night, folks. Okay, so on that note, hey, thanks so much for listening. And
we know great marriages don't just happen.
You have to be intentional.
So like, share, subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.